Hello, I'm Mary Morrissey and I'm going to be talking about writing a critical precis. There are two parts to this process: reading the essay and writing the summary. So let's begin with reading. A careful reading of the article that you are summarising will equip you for the three tasks involved in writing the precis itself. They need to summarise the article's argument, they need to understand how the argument relates to the scholarly debate, and the need to evaluate the success of the essay in making its argument clearly and persuasively. We look at these in turn, beginning with how to summarise. The first thing to do is to identify the thesis statement. This is where the author says what they hope to achieve in the essay. It's often found in the introductory paragraph and may open with the phrase like, "In this essay I will argue." Not all authors make it this easy, so read the first page or so of the essay with particular care. Finding the thesis statement will help to give you a frame around which to build your summary. You can then work through the essay, paragraph by paragraph, finding the main point in each paragraph. Once you've found the main point of each paragraph, note it down in a shorter form in your notes. There's quite a lot of information in most paragraphs that you won't need to note. Examples, lists, the discussion of other critics' work. That's part of your second task, which is to place the argument within the scholarly debate. You can't criticise a writer for failing to do something that they never set out to do. So understanding what the author says about how they think they contribute to the debate and how they think they build on the work of other people will allow you to evaluate the essay more fairly. An author will usually say how they think their work relates to other research in the field. They will often do this in the introduction, where they're laying out their argument and giving their thesis statement. There may be passages in the essay where the author discusses the work of other critics and writers, where your author quotes from other writers and evaluates the quotations. Read those passages carefully. If all else fails, check the footnotes for evaluative comments. You're now ready to evaluate the essay overall. To do this, think about how well your author avoids some of the following pitfalls. Digressions. This is where an essay ends up making a very different point to the one outlined in the thesis statement. Weakness in argument. This is where an essay asserts a particular point, but the proofs that are presented don't seem to quite prove it. The illustrative quotations or the contextual facts offered are somehow not completely relevant to the point they've been asked to prove. Superficial analysis is quite similar. This is where an essay makes a claim about a text or a topic but fails to offer enough supporting evidence. The telltale signs of this are a tendency to assert an argument, we see that this is the case, and repeat those assertions, but without space being given in the essay to explain how and why this is the case. An argument can be excessively complex. Is it hard to see how all the parts of the argument follow one from another, even though you've read carefully from each paragraph of the essay? Are there lots of references to other books and articles without their relevance to the argument of this essay being fully explained? Do you find it hard to see how the thesis statement at the beginning relates to the concluding paragraph? There may also be a failure to position the argument. Does the author explain how their work builds on the work of other people, or do they write as if they made this all up by themselves? Most essays will have some failings. Your evaluation can praise the author for pitfalls avoided, but offer criticism where appropriate. With all of this done, you're now ready to write your precis. The first thing to do is to take the notes of the thesis statement and the main point of each paragraph and rewrite them. You will always summarise much more effectively if you free yourself from the word choices and sentence structures used in the original. Then write a sentence or so about the argument's place in the scholarly debate, again drawing on the notes that you have made on the way that the author positions their argument. Then write a sentence or so evaluating the essay as a whole, discussing how effectively the author achieves the aims set out in the thesis statement. This will form your first draft. It will almost certainly be too long, so you will need to make a second draft to get under the word limit. In order to cut some unnecessary words, here are some tips. Delete illustrations or examples. A summary states an argument, it doesn't attempt to illustrate it or explain it. Use active instead of passive verbs. He argues, not the argument is put forward. Active verbs use fewer words. Avoid filler phrases like additionally or as we shall see later. In a passage of only 200 words, these are not necessary. Minimise the number of adjectives you use, and indeed use as few adjectives as possible. These are words that you can do without. Avoid overly complex sentence structures. Again, this involves excess words. Once you've done all this, look over your argument as a whole and see if your evaluation and your summary gives more detail than is necessary. If so, think about making cuts. But never be tempted to sacrifice grammatical accuracy or clarity of style for the sake of the word limit. Your writing must always read well. You may need to make a third draft in order to get your summary down to the 200-word limit, but if you follow these instructions, you should be able to manage to make an effective and clear summary of the essay. And then you're done. Well done. This is a difficult task. Writing well in 200 words takes real skill.